Brian, you've talked about the Aurora 88 Flex and its extra ink reservoir before. This sounds great, but why does Aurora label it as an extra ink reservoir and not a larger ink capacity? Why not, instead of creating another chamber for ink, just make the first reservoir larger? Loving the Q&A, listen to past and present episodes every day. Every day! Well, thank you, I appreciate that. I'm very honored by that. I don't know how you put up with me every day, to be quite honest with you, but well, let's talk about the pen though. Okay, so I did not grab an 88. I suppose I could, but the one that I have is inked up right now, and I can't easily demonstrate what I'm talking about with it inked up, so I grabbed an Aurora Optima, which has got the exact same filling mechanism in there, so I can still accomplish the same demonstration to you without having to get ink everywhere. So what you're talking about is the ink reservoir, and that probably is I mean, reservoir could mean a lot of different things, but it's not actually like a completely separate and defined chamber for ink. And you know, without understanding exactly how this thing is designed, maybe you're thinking it's a larger ink capacity than it really is. The intention behind this kind of second reservoir thing, it has to do with the way that the piston's designed. And honestly, if I had the right tool to be able to unscrew the piston mechanism out of the back, I would show you more easily, but I do not have that. So it requires, it's kind of like a Mont Blanc if you've ever messed around with those. It requires like a little fork type tool to get in here and unscrew. I probably could make it happen if I really tried, but I don't know if I want to experiment like that on a $500 pen. Not 500, under $500 pen, $400 pen. Still enough to where I don't want to try that. Anyway, so the way that their pens are designed, they have a nib unit in here that goes all the way up like this. I would say this is a pretty long nib unit for the pen. It just unscrews right out of the pen. It's totally cool and normal, and that's fine. But it's got this long post that comes up in the top here. And when you have this screwed into the pen, you can actually see it right there in the ink window. The post goes all the way there. Well, what happens when you are using the pen? So you're filling it, that's cool, but when you're filling the pen, it fills from this ink, hole, basically, that's kind of down here. Real formal term, right? Ink hole. But it's got holes pretty much down here that are filling through the pen. It's coming out of the reservoir, out of the, sorry, my terminology is super off today. It's coming out of the post here on the back of the nib unit, and it is going on to the ink reservoir. But if you look down here, and it's going to be hard to tell, I'm going to try and zoom in a little bit so you can see what's going on, because it is something clear in here. And when I say clear, I mean like transparent, not clear as in easy to see. But if you look, I have the piston right there. See that? So the piston is going up and down, and it's kind of a long piston, and it's hollow on the inside. So the piston is going onto the outside walls of the reservoir, but it also has an empty chamber on the inside there. That's the ink reservoir that Aurora is referring to. So what's happening when you're filling the pen is it's actually going all the way down over top of that post on the back of the nib unit. And then when it's drawing it up, it fills that little reservoir inside there. And then it kind of spills over, and then it fills the inside of the chamber of the pen. But it's actually got some ink that's left up inside of that piston. So you leave that up there, with the piston filling pen, you just leave it up. You don't have to do anything with it. It just writes and writes and writes. The ink level goes down and down and down and down. Your pen is empty. And then what you do, and when it's empty, say you're in the middle of a meeting and you don't want to just get up and leave and go fill your pen, and you don't carry 20 pens in your person like I do. Well, you just unscrew the reservoir down. That ink that's in there makes contact with the back of your feed, and you're able to write and finish up your meeting, finish up whatever it is you're trying to do, and then you can go and fill your pen. That's what Aurora is talking about when they're talking about an extra ink reservoir. It's really just meant to be, well, really any kind of reservoir, it's not meant to be like something that's going to last you very long. It's kind of like having a spare tire in your car. You're not like, why don't you just make your regular tires better and then you'll never need a spare? Well, it's really there in case of emergencies. Like if something happens to your regular tire, then you have your spare. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, well, if you run out of your ink chamber and it's completely empty and you need just a little bit more to finish up your meeting, then you can go and do that, and then you can carry on. and then go fill your pen after you're done. So that's what it's for. It's not so much that it increases the ink capacity, because you're really not going to get a ton more. You're going to get maybe a couple of pages more out of it. It's going to be enough to kind of just, you know, hobble along until you're able to get to your ink bottle. But it is going to allow you to continue to function, and that's really what it's for. It's probably, I haven't measured exactly how much ink, but it's probably no more than 4% of the total ink volume of the actual reservoir. So if you were just to add 4% into the reservoir, you wouldn't even notice. But having that little extra bit there is going to give you a little bit more, enough to carry you out of that meeting. And that's going to be your point of your reservoir. So it's kind of like having the empty, you know, light that comes on in your car. It's like you have a gas gauge, you know, you have an ink window, you can see when your ink level's getting low, but even still, you get that light that comes on, you're like, oh man, I got a little bit left, and then I got to go ink up. So that's how it works.